Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the inaugural show of Mr. Elite's Wrestling Show. I am with my co-host, Courtney Ross. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing just lovely.
You didn't expect that intro, did you?
No.
Which part did you lose of that?
JR, and then the oh my god part.
Hey, Joey. I had to throw Joey in there. That was funny. All right, we have a great show planned for you this evening. We have this week in review, followed by the topics, and then a special tribute at the end of the show to Roddy Piper, as we learned just moments ago, has passed away. He was 61. So let's get going. Let's run into this week in review, where we cover everything that happened this past week in the world of wrestling. Exciting. All right. In case anybody had missed any of the matches from any of these shows, I've got them all here because I have no life. All right, the first match from Raw, if you missed Raw, was the Big Show over Dean Ambrose, followed by Neville over Fandango. Sasha Banks beat Paige. Lucha Dragons over the Los Matadors. Becky Lynch and Charlotte over Alicia Fox, Nikki Bella. Randy Orton over Kevin Owens. There's a shocker. And then the U.S. champion, John Cena, beat the world champion, Seth Rollins. So that's what happened on Raw. I also covered TNA, in case you missed that show. They only had 3 matches. Chris Melendez lost to Eric Young. Brooke over Marty Bell for the TNA Knockout Championship. And Magnus and Mickie James over James Storm, who is no longer with TNA, and Serena. So that was exciting. Ring of Honor, Matt Taven and Michael Bennett over Corey Hollis and Jonathan Gershman. Moose, awesome name, over Dalton Castle, Silas Young, Caprice Coleman, Cheeseburger, no shit, Cheeseburger, and Brutal Bob Evans, not to be confused with the restaurant. And then the main event was Bobby Fish over ACH. No idea what that stands for, ladies and gentlemen. And then finally, last night, in case you missed it, on SmackDown, world champion Seth Rollins and Cicero had a no contest. Los Matadors and the Lucha Dragons, who just beat the crap out of each other a couple nights before, teamed up and beat New Day and the Ascension. Rusev over Jack Swagger, another big shocker. And then Stardust over R-Truth. And then the main event was Cicero, I apologize, and Dan Ambrose over Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. What do you think about that?
I don't know, that's crazy.
Yep. So of all those, what do you think would be the match of the week? Listen to the awesome music for this. Oh yeah. Makes you feel like Kurt Angle just won the title again, didn't you?
Or just creamed on me.
Well, that works as well. Match of the week. My vote, going to have to go with John Cena and Seth Rollins.
Hell of a match. Back and forth.
Yeah, well, it reminded me of why I love the business, and that's because of athleticism, and you just didn't know. Like, I honestly, I kind of knew Cena was going to win because obviously they're not going to put the belt on Rollins, especially not on Raw. But, the back and forth, a lot of the counters out of the moves that Rollins did from Cena, that was very impressive. It reminded me back of, back 2003, 2005, when Raw was actually really good.
Yeah, like, it surprised me. It's like, just, I don't know, it's like, I think it's like, it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing, too, because it's like, you get so many crappy matches on Raw now. It's like, when they really do have a good one, it's kind of like, they're so far in between instead of having back to back to back.
It's just like SmackDown. I mean, SmackDown's main event. I mean, I don't really, I could pass on that. I'm not even gonna lie. I could pass on that. The opening match, Cesaro and Seth Rollins to a no contest. That probably really good.
Yeah, Cesaro's always he's always been able to put on classic matches. He just never really got.
His name's Cesaro. Some call him Cicero for nothing.
Yeah, it's Cesaro.
Cesaro.
I didn't want to correct you on your own show,
Yeah, you're the co-host. You have that right. Now, if somebody else was sitting here and they said it's that, then they would have gotten, a Randy Savage elbow drop right on their noggin. So, but for you, I'll let it pass. You're also family, so it happens.
You know, Cesaro is I'm sorry. He's always been able to been a great worker. It's like when you match, you can pretty much have a good match with anybody on that card. But it's like just because they don't think his mic skills is up to par, to them he's just like a talented mid card.
Yeah. Now before we get into the topics, we have two of them this evening. Fun fact: my co-host was actually at the WWE live event that happened about a month ago, right?
Yeah.
He was actually backstage working security for that show, and he actually got to meet people. Why don't you tell us about some of those stories that you got?
Well, first female I met was Eva Mendez. She was the first one I met, and she was nice. Then I met Brie Bella. She was also nice, good looking in person. Cause somebody can look cute on TV, but sometimes you see them in person, they be ugly as shit. But you know, she was fine. I had a good time. I mean, it was hard because you know you're trying to be professional, but at the same time, like you're still a fan. So
yeah,
just getting to meet a couple people. Like Cena's not a dick like I thought he would be. He was actually pretty cool. Who else? I got to meet Jericho, and then one of my favorites where I marked out at was Dean Malenko in the back. I didn't even know he was there.
Yeah, I've been cool to see Malenko.
Oh man,
he hasn't wrestled since 2000, so I've been cool to see Malenko.
I wanted to see what would happen, like if him and Jericho was face to face, like what I would say, like because of their whole feud in WCW. Well, like, cause I mean, me, I'd be like, remember you made fun of your father, Malenko, like. I would say
you would have antagonized.
Yeah, I would say some stupid shit like that. I had a ball though, man. It was fun. It was weird seeing them all just sitting in the back.
So like what I kind of wanted to know. Obviously, they had intermission before the cage match. The main event, in case you didn't know, was John Cena versus Kane in a steel cage. Never been done in Spring. To my knowledge, we've never had a steel cage match in Springfield before. What year was that?
I can't remember. I didn't go. It was Kane and Taker taking on DDP in Kenya.
Oh, so that must have been the invasion angle in 2001 then.
Yeah, that was the one I actually missed. I think Jeremiah went to that one.
Okay. Well, that's cool. So, okay, I stand corrected. So this is the second time. Yeah. I mean,
look at the time far apart, though.
Yeah, 14 years.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's pretty sick to actually have a steel cage here in Springfield, let alone the main event. I mean, how long did it actually take the ring crew to set up the steel cage?
I'd say probably about 7-8 minutes. It didn't take long to me. It didn't seem like it was that long.
Yeah. So like how long would you say the card was? Like is it one of the more short?
Probably about a good 3 hours.
Was it one of the more shorter of the shows? Like
it was like some stuff was kind of rushed. Like what the hell is his name? Bo Dallas, like he took on somebody. He took on I think it was Jimmy Uso. Lost real quick, and then complained that he wasn't leaving the match. He wasn't leaving the ring until he got another opponent, and said if he lost, he would never come back to the stinking town again. Which I thought was hilarious. Everybody else was mad.
I think the funniest thing, if you go to any show, a heel will always make fun of Springfield and their women. I'm sure they go, no matter what town they go to, they do that. But it's I find that hilarious when they talk about how big our women are and how much they stink. I think that's hilarious.
Some of it's true. It's like half truths, you know. I'm just saying, I ain't trying to talk about nobody's wife. Well, I am a little bit. But I'm just saying, we got some fine women here, but we got a lot of hit and misses.
True. There's more misses than hits.
Yeah.
So now moving on to the topics. I'm glad you brought up the Cesaro.
Cesaro,
okay,
yeah.
There we go. The Cesaro topic, because I actually want to talk about, because I got a big problem in the WWE. This is my shoot part, because this is where I'll start shooting. If you know what shoot is, look it up. It's wrestling lingo, means for real. Here's my problem with the WWE. Actually, here's my problem in wrestling in general. Okay, the ability to push new talent. And when they do push new talent, they hold them back because they're not what corporate wants. You look at Jack Swagger, look at Kevin Owens, look at Cesaro. So I don't, whatever. Look at Kofi Kingston.
Shelton Benjamin.
Exactly. What do you think is the purpose for building somebody up and then just pulling the rug underneath their legs and just stopping them cold in their tracks?
I think it's a power trip, to be honest with you. I think it's like a lot of the guys at top claim to not really pay attention to the internet, but they do. And it's like when Daniel Bryan's situation happened, like fans forced that push. It was like they weren't trying to push Daniel Bryan. They were trying to have Batista Orton at WrestleMania. They were set on that.
And I mean, but in some way it didn't work.
Yeah, because he got injured.
It got injured, and then when and I think that's exactly what they wanted.
Yeah,
because he headlined, he opened WrestleMania 31 in the I'm glad he won the ladder match, but again he gets hurt. So now you got to look at the longevity of Daniel Bryan. Like, you think Daniel Bryan's gonna get pushed now? I don't think he is.
I think they're gonna use him probably to elevate one of the secondary titles. I could see him getting shots at the title, but I don't actually see him holding it for a while.
Let's for a second, let's talk about Kevin Owens, because you and I spoke briefly on that earlier this week. With the from the week in review, Kevin Owens lost both of his matches, both televised matches. I know SummerSlam, they're pushing for him and Cesaro to wrestle each other. That is a very bad situation booking wise, and I say this because you're going to halt somebody, unless they both have a 5-star matchup or they both come out looking amazing, which they can. You pretty much screwed one of those people over in that match, because they're both guys who've gotten pushed and then they gotten pulled back.
I think Cesaro, if that happens, Cesaro's going to get the win, because like I said before, Vince doesn't like average looking wrestlers. Like Kevin Owens looks like an average Joe. He likes chiseled guys. He's obsessed with physiques, as we all know. Mm-hmm. It's like I don't think he's a big fan of Kevin Owens.
And I think from what I read, it's more Kevin Dunn. Kevin Dunn gets in Vince's ear and he tells him the guys that, and Vince trusts him because he's been with Vince for many, many years, and he gets in Vince's ear and says, I don't think this guy's going to make money. And so Vince decides to squash it. And, it's a really sucky thing. Because you look at, and here's the thing, and it pisses me off. I'm going to just be honest. It pisses me off because you got people like Carlito, you have people like Shelton Benjamin. You have all these guys who came through there. Top guy, Kofi Kingston, for God's sakes, Kofi Kingston in 2009, his matches with Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston should have had that belt. Yeah. Kofi Kingston could have drawn people,
or at least had the opportunity.
And it might not have been for long. It might not have been. So my thing is, Jeff Hardy is more marketable than Kofi Kingston. Is it because Jeff Hardy has the gimmick, the face paint, the whisper in the wind, and the Swanton Bomb? He's more flashy than the Boom and everything else.
Jeff Hardy's never been. People get mad when I say this, but Jeff Hardy isn't, to me, like ring wise, is an average wrestler. Like, he's not very technical. Like, he's just, Matt's more technical. It's like Jeff Hardy can do spots and everything, but it's like, Jeff Hardy don't have 5-star classics unless he's wrestling certain people.
Yeah.
And it's like, Kofi can get in there and have a 5-star match with anybody. It's like,
and I mean, look where he's at now, the New Day, which is, and no disrespect to the Nation of Domination, but today's Nation of Domination, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, but they're not, and again,
there's just a lighthearted version,
and they're not doing anything with the. I mean, Big E Langston got a big push when he first came in there, got a huge put, nothing. He's nothing now. Just like the same thing with Kofi. I'm not playing the race card. I'm not doing that crap. Although it has been noted, and that's going to be our next topic. It has been noted about politics in the WWE when it comes to skin color. And if somebody listening to this is offended by that, I apologize. Look it up. It's known fact. So, but we're talking about people who aren't getting pushed. Jack Swagger is talking about leaving the company because he's jobbing to Rusev now. Which, Jack Swagger, to my personal opinion, I had a problem with Jack Swagger when he first got in the company because he was purposely brought in to be their version of Kurt Angle after Kurt left. the same moves Kurt Angle did. Jack Swagger. The only thing he didn't take was the Olympic Slam. To my knowledge, I never saw him use the Olympic Slam.
And then he didn't get he got that first push. Then he didn't get really no second push until his character became more like a racist.
Yeah.
They just didn't say it. They were racist, but innuendos was there. Like,
I mean, and I think there are so many superstars in history. I was thinking about Ahmed Johnson last night. Ahmed Johnson, he could have been a very good champion.
Yeah.
But again, I know pretty much if you get hurt in the WWE, you're done. You're done unless you're John Cena, or unless you're Shawn Michaels, and I have a lot of respect for Shawn. And
speaking of Ahmed, I remember watching an interview with him. He was talking about. He said, like his style kind of got toned down when he got there, because he said like at first he would jump off the top rope with the crossbody or a drop kick, and I remember him saying that Michaels came up to him and asked him not to do it anymore. And then he's like, why? And then he's like, well, he said, because when I do it, he said, if you keep doing it, it's going to be like, whoa. He said, but if I do it, it won't mean nothing because I'm a little guy.
Yeah. And
I think that was kind of like, to me, it seemed more like Michael's like, I don't want you
taking my spot.
Yeah, outshining me on certain things.
And I read that too. I know the psychology when it comes to matches. You obviously don't want to work on an arm after the match before you. The guy worked on an arm. So yeah. I can see to a sense where Shawn was coming from. But, wrestling is very political and people worry about their spots. That's just the nature of the beast that is professional wrestling. Because if you're not that guy, you're not going to be making that money. Yeah. So you have to protect your spot. People call it dirty. Triple H, Paul. So, I can't get sued for that. Paul, has done that to guys for years, has kept people down.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that he claims it's best for business. I think what's best for business was letting Carlito, Shelton Benjamin, all these guys shine other than ladder matches.
Yeah, which shorten their career.
And exactly. I mean, Bobby Lashley is another guy. Huge push. Biggest accomplishment. ECW championship.
That he lost to Vince McMahon.
And it meant in a program that meant nothing. ECW was nothing. No matter how much they tried to push it. It was nothing. And I mean, look at him now. I mean, he's TNA. He was the TNA champion. He's been whipping ass over in the MMA over Bellator. I mean, you could have done great things with Bobby Lashley, but you let him go.
Yep.
I mean,
And then, like on his way out, they had to make sure he lost to Cena.
Yeah. I mean, that's So as far as I'm concerned, with Kevin Owens, he had 3 matches with Cena. People are calling them classic matches. They're saying Kevin Owens is the next big thing. What do you think the future holds for Kevin Owens if he does not get that push?
In 6 months, he'll be in the mid card or probably jobbing.
So he'll be like the Wyatt family.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because
he novelty act.
He was they were the hot thing for a long time when they first got in here, and all of a sudden they're nothing.
I'm starting to notice, like, look at Dean Ambrose. Look at the push, I don't even know what they're gonna do with him now. It's like,
yeah, and because right now their poster boy isn't Seth Rollins, isn't John Cena, it's Roman Reigns. Right. But nobody wants Roman Reigns to be the guy.
I think I would like to see it because it'd be something like, I think if they just let Roman Reigns be how he was, like, because I've noticed that they've kind of went the Cena route where, like, we only want you using like 3 big moves, Mm-hmm. Now Cena's always had these moves. It's just now he's getting to do them now. Like, if you go back and look at Roman Reigns before he got called up, look at his matches, you'd be like, what the hell? Like, even his promo skills. To me, he works better as a heel. Because, I was looking up a video on YouTube, like, Roman Reigns' funniest moments. And they were all when he was a heel, part of the Shield. And he was just, like, it was very entertaining. Like, he wasn't, like, flobbing up his lines or anything. It was just perfect. And it's like, they need to stop trying to make him the next John Cena and just concentrate on making him Roman Reigns.
But they also got to think, how many years does Cena have left? That's probably on everybody's mind. Their poster boy
I say
he's getting up there. I mean,
Cena's probably got a good shit. I mean, he's always stayed in good shape, so I could say Cena's can like dominant wise. I could say Cena could be on top for the next 3 years, at the least. I mean, a lot of people wrestle way past their 40, so
true. I mean, Flair was wrestling into his 60s, so
yeah.
And then you see how well that's doing out for him.
Yeah.
So now, from moving to the young, we move to the old. And what I mean by old, I mean Hulk Hogan. As many of you have heard, unless
Hulk
you're
Hitler.
You didn't see this, but I gave him the click sign right there. Oh. So, as many of you, if you have been living under a rock, then apparently you don't know Hulk Hogan. There has been footage found of Hulk's sex tape, which, first of all, gross that someone was actually watching Hulk's sex tape.
I think my cousin probably did.
My producer over there just did the gag thing. He grabbed his stomach, and I thought he was just going to blow chunks while eating chocolate. Hulk Hogan, while in the midst of his nastiness, decided to rant off about his daughter's sex life and the choice of men she could choose from who were not of the same skin color. How do you? And don't take that. How do you feel as a
black man?
There you go. How do you feel about those comments by Hulk Hogan, the immortal?
I ain't
Hulk
gonna
Hogan.
lie. Like when I first heard it, like I started laughing because I'm just like, really, like. And then I was like, it was just like, I guess I was just like in shock because like with certain people you can kind of tell like when they're at home they probably like nigger this, nigger that. But like him, he just never seemed like the type to me. And then like when I started actually looking up old shit, and I was like, yeah, it makes more sense now.
Because there was actually, well, I don't know how many people know this. Probably more people know this now. When his son was in prison for what happened, he was on the phone with him, and I guess Hogan was dropping that word to his son on the phone as well, in the pen. So I guess now we're at a place where Hulk Hogan is now banished from both TNA and the WWE. Do you think Hulk Hogan will ever be welcomed back into the gates of the WWE again?
Hell yeah, because they don't care about black people either. Like WWE is like, I'm just keep it real. WWE's done a lot of racist shit too. And it's like
they have,
and it's like they're like, I appreciate the fact that saying they say, you know what, we're going to terminate his contract and do all that. But it's like you can't sit there and act like you all high and mighty when y'all done did some crazy shit too. Do
you buy the thing about Hulk Hogan resigning, or do you think that it was WWE terming him out?
I think he got fired. He's how him and Vince were anyway. So
yeah.
Then Vince will always be like, yeah, I fired Hulkamania again, some shit like that. Yeah. So like, yeah.
So when you bring up WWE and I alluded to it a little bit earlier about their angles in which I've had issues with some of their angles. One of those angles, a lot of the ones that stick out to people are the Mexicools, which if you don't know who the Mexicools were, they were Juventud Guerrero, Super Crazy, and Psychosis as Mexican lawnmowers.
And
jumpsuits. Back in 2005, was it? 2005, 2006? Yeah. That was their gimmick. They came out on lawnmowers, green lawnmowers.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what they were going for with that angle. But the one that sticks out to me, one of the most racist angles WWE has ever done was JBL and Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah. Funny but racist.
The one that's the segment, I think the most racist segment WWE's ever done was when JBL was doing the border patrol angle, and he said, I won't quote what he said because
I'll say it.
You don't care. I mean that's fine. I have an image to protect here because
I don't.
I'm the founder of a company. I have to watch what I say so I can keep my listeners. Go for it. If you want to,
what do you say? He's like he said, shh, be quiet. We got some Mexicans. I hear some Mexicans over here. The next thing you know, he gets to yelling. He's like, hey, get your asses out of the US of A. Then he kicks the guy in the ass.
Yeah, he proceeds to beat this guy up. I'm thinking that is totally racist. You can't do that. The Nation of Domination, do you refer to that as a racist angle? I don't. But people say that. People will say that
it started from racism. Like they got together based off. They felt they were being like racism being brought up on now.
Mm.
Like to me, they just seemed like they was trying to make them like Black Panthers.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, obviously, when you put the DOA in there, then
I think that was just like to just try to sugarcoat some stuff.
and then Los Los
Boricuas.
and then you had the Truth Commission.
Don't forget right to censor.
Right.
That was racist against white people. From Utah.
Well, I mean, we the people. That was racist. Let's just be honest.
I mean, come on. Like the angle was, he's going after the Mexican champion.
Yeah.
They talked about border patrol and
Rob, the manager. There was a promo I was watching with Kev, and I was like, "Holy crap! You can't say that stuff. That's racist stuff. You can't say that." I mean, and there's a clip going on. I want to address this real quick. There's a clip going around the internet in which 2007. 'Cause Booker T was still with the company, I believe, in 2007. I think.
That's what Vince said.
What Vince said to John Cena.
That was 05.
That was 05?
Survivor Series 05. Because I got that.
Okay, so there's John Cena standing, and Vince walks up and he says, "Hey dog," or whatever. Vince trying to act hip, or whatever, and then he walks off and saying,
sees Booker T.
He's like, "Oh no!" He still said to Cena
first. He said, "What's up?" He said, "What's up, boss man?" He's like, Vince McMahon was like, "What's good in the hood?"
Yeah,
and I'm just like, "What the fuck?" Like, did he really just say that? And then after he's walking off from Cena, then he sees Booker and his wife. He's like, "What's up, my nigga?"
Well, he said that. No, he said that to Cena. In his defense, he did say that to Cena, and then he walked by it. But then they showed Booker and Sharmell right there, and Vince is getting flock for that. Do you think Vince deserves the flock for that after what he did to Hogan?
Yeah, that's the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, he gets on Hogan for using that word, but then he used it too.
So it doesn't matter the contents in which he used it, because I mean,
don't get me wrong. Like, it was funny.
It was made for a joke.
It was funny, but it's like
it's still.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's one thing I'll say about Vince. He's an equal opportunity offender of races. I mean, like, he'll pretty much stereotype anybody's race.
Yeah. So
Jimmy Wang Yang, I forgot about him.
Oh, the Chinese cowboy.
Yeah, redneck.
I'm a
redneck.
Yeah. So, well, before we wrap this up, there's one incident I really have to bring up. Mark Henry and good old P.S. Hayes.
Yeah, I've heard about a couple stories.
Michael Hayes saying.
Yeah, I think
Michael Hayes was suspended for 2 months for saying what he said to Mark Henry.
That's the only reason why Mark Henry got the ECW title, was because of what he said.
Yeah. Do you think now that happened with Hogan? Granted, remember this thing, all this happened back in 2008 when Hogan said this stuff. This was going on 8 years ago. This is 7 years ago when he said this. Then it's with Mark Henry and Michael Hayes, again 7 years ago. Michael Hayes, to my knowledge, is still employed with the company. Do you think Michael Hayes should get fired for what Michael Hayes said?
To be fair, I don't know, because he did his punishment.
He got suspended for 2 months. Hogan got erased. Hogan got Benoit, and that's the only way to put that.
He did get Benoit. He got the Benoit treatment.
I'm not being rude to Benoit. He got Benoit. He got erased. How are you gonna erase Hulkamania? And that's
same
really,
what he did Benoit.
There's a difference.
Question mark.
There's a difference.
It was a triple threat match at WrestleMania 20. It just turned into a one-on-one match.
And I mean that's no disrespect. Chris Benoit in the ring. We're gonna talk about him later on in the series. Chris Benoit in the ring. Not too many people could touch Chris Benoit with what he did in wrestling. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. He was one of the best. There's a difference between Chris Benoit and Hulk Hogan.
No, I was going to say something. I had to catch myself.
It was probably a good thing. There's a difference between Hulk Hogan and Chris Benoit. Hulk Hogan made the WWF, and he made wrestling to what it was back in the 80s with the rock and wrestling connection. Chris Benoit didn't do that. So erasing Chris Benoit, no offense to Benoit fans. I'm a Benoit fan. It's easier than erasing the man who is known for slamming a giant
in the
Silverdome.
Which he always over exaggerates, talk about he was 1,000-pound giant and all that shit.
I mean, can you really erase Hulkamania?
Yeah, you can. Just put, instead of like just digitize him out and then put John Cena slamming Andre. They'd do it.
See, I don't know.
I can see that. Them digitize Hogan out, put Cena in the footage, body slamming Andre.
I mean, you're erasing the first 9 WrestleManias. Then you're erasing WrestleMania 18, WrestleMania 19. You're erasing quite a bit of history. Pretty much everything from 80
to fans over who actually want to see those matches.
Yeah, you're 80 to 93. You're totally just saying this didn't happen. Hulk Hogan wasn't the champion from 85 to 90, 91 before, and then he didn't win it back at 93 against Yoko. Which in my mind that match didn't happen anyways because that match sucked. So, but then you're also erasing The Rock, the greatest match. And one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. You're saying,
well, to you,
hey, I didn't. I didn't vote it. Do I think it's one of the great? No, but fan wise, yes. That's. Probably,
I mean, it was a dream match. To me, I would have preferred Hogan and Austin, but
yeah,
Hogan was scared. So
we're gonna wrap this up.
Oh, one more thing about the Hogan sex tape, just for the record, I might check it out because I do want to learn how to leg drop a bitch in the bedroom. I'm just saying.
All right, so on that note, so we're in agreement. I guess we're not in agreement. You say Hogan's going to be erased, and
no, he's going. They're going to bring him back. They're going to let it cool down for about 4 months, and then he's going to come back. And if I get my wish, hopefully he passes afterwards. I'm sorry, I've never been a Hogan fan.
Wow.
I've never been a Hogan fan.
Well, I mean, I don't think he'll come back on TV, but I think they'll reinstate his Hall of Fame profile and all that stuff. I don't think
they need to.
He's not going to come back on TV.
Customers out of their money. A lot of racist people want to see Hulk Hogan wrestle.
He has a shop down in Florida. I was wondering if I got tagged yet by people.
It need to be.
They
tagged LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? The mural they had of him in Miami.
Oh, you can see Hulkamania in the streets throwing their T-shirts and stuff and burning them.
Yeah. So
I came up with an interesting game. It's called This or That, and it's a series of questions I'm going to ask Courtney, which he prefers. Now, some of these questions have similarities. Actually, most of them have similarities. Either they're both jobbers, or they both have different names with the same move. It's just what you prefer, this or that.
All right.
Question 1: the Dudley Dog or the Stratisfaction?
Dudley Dog, because it looks harder to do.
Yeah, because they're both.
And it's because that one's the Stratisfaction is basically a bulldog, and the other one's basically like an ace crusher. For you ignorant newer fans, that's what people call in the RKO or the diamond cutter. And
which
it's
is
an ace crusher.
Powerbomb or jackknife?
Powerbomb has more power.
Really?
Like jackknife, when Kevin Nash did the jackknife, he would basically lift people up and then kind of just drop them.
He dropped him with the shoulder. He had him on the shoulder.
But I mean, like actual, like powerbomb, like Sid Vicious used to do. Like
I'll give you that.
Yeah,
I'll give you
more
that.
Power.
Mr. Sacco or the Cobra?
Mr. Sacco, because it's always funny and kind of sexual, like putting ball sweat in somebody's mouth.
Yeah, that's always the biggest thing. I would not want to wrestle McFoley back in the '90s. Late 90s when he's pulling that sock out of his crotch.
They'd be wrestling for about 15 minutes and then he pull it out. You
he's been sweaty.
Like, man, this man's penis juice is going to be in my mouth. Like that's crazy. Like,
especially when you see the marker on the sock like dripping and stuff like that. It's been saturated. It's pretty bad. The Shockmaster or Bastion Booger?
Shockmaster.
You're picking the Shockmaster over Bastion Booger for jobber?
Because the way he fell through that, his was a lot funnier because he fell through the wall. They fucking had a Star Wars helmet,
like glitified.
Yeah, like bedazzled and shit. And it was just like.
All right, and the last question, this is obvious for me. I just want to know for you, Jim Ross or Michael Cole?
Michael Cole.
Really?
No, I'm playing Jim Ross.
Oh, okay. I was like, really?
No, if I like Twitter, I'd pick Michael Cole.
Oh, good old JR. All right, so that ends this or that. Make sure to tune in next week. Before we leave tonight, ladies and gentlemen, like I addressed earlier, before we got on the air, we learned that the late, great Roddy Piper has passed away. Piper, who headlined WrestleMania 1, who was in the first Starrcade with the NWA, who I contribute to just as much as Hogan, to the success of the wrestling business in the 80s. What are your thoughts on Piper?
I think it's sad because he's like one of those. He was like the first rebel of who would say whatever was on his mind. I mean, I think wrestling world lost a gem, really, because it's like, cause I got to read his book and learn much about him than I previously knew. And just like, man, he was a family man. Like, he valued his friendships. I never heard nobody say anything bad about Piper. And it was like, Piper is always a stand-up guy. Like, he took up for a lot of wrestlers too. Yeah,
I'll always remember Piper for the coconut with Jimmy Snuka. Despite what anybody says about racist, there again, that's a moment in history. Him smacking him over the head with that coconut
and shaving that black midget's head.
Okay, that was a little
that was funny but racist.
Not as messed up as the Bad News Brown WrestleMania 6 thing, but it was messed up nonetheless. I mean, but yeah, great match with Brett, WrestleMania 8. I mean,
first time he got his shoulders pinned,
and he was an Intercontinental Champion. He should have been. He should have been the WWE champion, WWF champion.
We all know why he wasn't.
Yeah, but that's either here or there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to head out. Before I go, I want to make sure you guys tune in to Sunday for the Epic Movie Show with my good friend Pickett and Chuck. They will be reviewing the new Mission Impossible movie. They'll be seeing that sissy boy Tom Cruise. That should be a lot of fun.
Don't you talk about our Lord and Savior like that.
Whoa.
Tom Cruise. Or you won't get to go on the spaceship.
Dude, he left that rack. He's not a Scientologist anymore. And then make sure to tune in Monday nights to the Pickett and Joe Show. Also Wednesday nights to the Sarcastic Four. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in for the inaugural show. I have enjoyed speaking with my partner Courtney. It's been a great fun.
It sure has.
Next week we'll be back next Friday night live, 6:30, uncensored. Pretty much saying whatever we want. And we leave you with this tribute to the great Roddy Piper. Thank you very much. Today, the wrestling world lost a true legend, Roddy Piper. Piper's one of the biggest stars in the 80s, wrestling for the NWA, AWA, and the WWF. Headlining the first Starrcade against Greg Valentine in a dog collar match made Piper a star, but it wasn't until 1985 when he headlined WrestleMania against Hulk Hogan, which took the WWF to new heights and never came back down. We here at Mr. Elite's Wrestling Show and Pick and Joe Productions send our condolences to his family, friends, and all who love the spectacular individual. Thank you, Roddy, for the memories.